the two coaches of this season of The Ultimate Fighter, Joseph Benavidez versus Henry Cejudo. And Cody, these guys don't like each other.
What? I thought you said you only watched half of the season.
One of them is fake, and the other guy's a jerk. And, you know, it's just kind of ridiculous, the amount of, you know, we always see this on The Ultimate Fighter. Coaches never get along. And I think it's a lot of producers prodding.
I think it's been fun. I think it's been a fun
It has
little
been
rivalry.
fun. And frankly, from what I have seen, Benavidez is just murdering him.
Chewing him up, man. Chewing him up.
Cejudo's, they're very, very different characters, and Cejudo does have this self-righteousness about him. Like, even when he stood up for Nick Diaz, when Nick Diaz got suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission, it's just, and that was a great thing for him to do. Good for supporting your fellow fighters and yada, yada, yada. But everything always seems like it's a big proclamation, a big announcement to the world, you know?
Every time.
And that annoys some people.
Of course. How could you put up with that? Even that, I remember that old Team Alpha Male video. They do that Team Alpha Male radio, and then Justin Buchholz is on. He's like, oh, we got a new drinking game. And then they just have a random Ariel Helwani, like, one-on-one interview with Henry Cejudo. And then he's like, the game is you got to take a drink every time Henry Cejudo says the word gold. And this is just a regular conversation with Cejudo. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, when I win gold in the Olympics, and just, you know, when you want to do something, you want to achieve gold, and just like, you know, my whole life is just gold. He says it like 8 or 9 times. It's like, this guy's programmed. He's programmed to say certain things. He's programmed to do certain things. There's no doubt he's a top quality fighter.
He is.
He's the youngest American to win freestyle Olympic gold medal. He's the truth in many regards. But my biggest question here is that can you just take a world-class wrestler and make them a world-class fighter? What I've seen from Henry Cejudo...
What, was it golden gloves or bronze gloves boxing?
I think they're copper glove titles, to be honest with you, out of Arizona. And listen, the fight with Dustin Kimura, that's his UFC debut, that's what everyone's talking about. Damn, this guy's not even shooting takedowns. Look how good his hands are.
Yeah.
But in what other fight since then have you really thought to yourself, man, this guy's striking's on another level?
Definitely not on another level.
Yeah, I have seen glimpses of not brilliance, but I have seen glimpses of promise with his striking. But the problem is, everyone always says it. When you get hit, you resort back to what you're good at. In his case, it's wrestling. And when he can't get that takedown, he's in panic mode. Biggest thing I think about him is that he's not I can't say he's not a fighter. The guy's doing it up. He's fighting in the UFC. He's challenging for a world title. But he's always had weight-cutting issues, right? And then he's a flake. I mean, Benavidez says it on the show. How many times have you no-showed? How many times have you missed weight? How many times have you just had an issue pop up?
How many times have I no-showed?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Joseph Benavidez is a consummate professional. He's the number 2 guy in the world. 1, according to those stupid little UFC rankings, because the champ's got the C. But he's the number 2 guy in the world, and he's been the number 2 guy in the world for a long time, and he'll probably still be the number 2 guy in the world for a long time to come. But honestly, when you look at this fight stylistically, he's the better fighter.
Yeah.
He might not be the better wrestler, Paul, but he's the better fighter.
Benavidez is just all around just a better fighter.
Well, you look at...
his striking, he's faster.
Yes.
It's just like there have been many, many men before who have tried to just, you know, take Joseph Benavidez down, and if you're able to get him down, his grappling's pretty slick. And most of the time you usually fail, and he's super fast and technical on the feet. And I don't know, man. He's got an ace in his pocket, too. Did you see this? I always go online trying to find out where these guys have been training. I was trying to figure out, is Joseph Benavidez a Team Alpha
He
male?
spent some time at Elevation in Colorado
with
Dwayne
at
Ludwig.
Elevation. And this picture, which is pretty recent on his Instagram, had... our boy, Brandon Moreno, happens to be there. You know, friend of Henry Cejudo and guy who used to train with him and so on and so forth. So he's there, that Eric Shelton guy. They photoshopped him in there, but that must mean that he was there with them.
I have a
he just
conspiracy
wasn't
on that, but now's not the time.
Tim Elliott was there with them, and there was a couple other, you know, smaller weight guys. But I just thought it was interesting. Brandon Moreno was there with Benavidez. Even though going into the show, he wanted to be on Cejudo's team. He was all upset. Now he's with Benavidez, training before this. That's got to help him. Yeah, I just think all around, just like Benavidez is a complete mixed martial artist, and I can't say the same thing for Cejudo. Price is -210. A 3-round fight does help Henry Cejudo here, 100%.
Score some takedowns.
Maybe he can take him down. Hold him down. He's the best wrestler that Benavidez has ever, or not mixed martial arts, but, you know, technical, He's a gold medalist in
No,
wrestling.
okay, but let me get at that, right? And that's my biggest thing here is that if you're Joseph Benavidez, you draw confidence from the fact that you've already fought guys with similar styles. And what I mean by that is in his last fight, he fights Zach Makovsky, who's a wrestling-oriented fighter. Before that, he gets Ali Bogatinov. Other fights that he's had is Dustin Ortiz and Tim Elliott. It seems like he always draws a wrestler, and he's able to stuff them. Now, yes, your argument is completely valid. This is the best wrestler. The guy's an Olympic gold medalist.
I'm just trying to create a scenario where Cejudo, because it's only a 3-round fight, wins 2 out of 3 rounds.
Yeah, possible.
Definitely possible.
Because he goes out there and he gets the takedowns. But this is what I'm getting at, is that if you're Joseph Benavidez, you're on a 5-fight winning streak. Your last loss being to Demetrius Johnson. That was 3 years ago. But
he only loses to Demetrius Johnson and Dominic Cruz.
Those are the only guys. No. So we know that what we're getting out of him, and we've seen what he does against those styles, and then he excels against them. Ali Bogatinov does give him a tough fight, but I don't really expect the same type of performance out of a guy like Henry Cejudo. Conversely, let's flip it back to Henry Cejudo, this guy that we're talking about his weight cutting issues, his issues about professionalism. This guy finished his first 4 opponents, right? He has not finished anybody since. His first 4 professional opponents, Paul, combine for a current record of 9 wins and 54 losses. That's a real stat. 9 wins and 54 losses, and he finishes those 4 guys. Now he starts fighting better guys. And even not in UFC right away, at the legacy level, Ryan Hollis, he's not finishing Ryan Hollis. He comes to the UFC, and that's what we get. We get Dustin Kimura, which he looked good, but he didn't finish him. Chris Carriasso, it's a tougher fight for him, but he looks good. Doesn't finish him. Now he gets Chico Camus. Chico Camus is nowhere near Joseph Benavidez' level, and he wins the fight, but the takedowns aren't necessarily there for him. Now he gets Yusir Formiga. This is the biggest win of his career. Even though he should have got the unanimous, it was a fairly enough close fight.
I think he had tainted food, though.
He gets a split.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Formiga fought Joseph Benavidez? He got knocked out less than 2 minutes into the first round. So it's just, I always talk about a class change. And I think Henry Cejudo's wrestled the best wrestlers in the world, but he hasn't fought the best fighters in the world. And he trains at a gym where he's not sparring the best fighters in the world. When you look at Joseph Benavidez, he spars the best guys on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. He's had world championship experience on multiple occasions. He's fought at the highest level. He's the better fighter, not necessarily the better athlete, but that's something we keep talking about. And my last point on this, and we can move away, is take it back to that Team Alpha Male podcast. They're looking at Henry Cejudo, and they're looking at him as a viable challenger, and they're breaking down his style. And you know that as a gym that's looking at guys outside of Demetrius Johnson who to fight, you know that the Henry Cejudo was always a name on their list. You look at Henry Cejudo, he didn't know who the hell Joseph Benavidez was because he's so entwined in his own game, in himself, that I just think that he may not be overlooking Joseph Benavidez, but one's going to be more prepared for the other guy, and he has more tools to do so. So Joseph Benavidez for the win by decision.
We both like Joseph Benavidez here quite a bit. It obviously seems
the line's not great.
I was just trying to work really hard to try to create a path to victory. And there's always
2 out of 3 rounds
always a
is
path
the
to
key.
victory.
Get
2
the
out of 3 rounds
early.
is the key. I just don't see it happening against a savvy veteran like Benavidez who knows how to win rounds.